Hello and welcome to Claw's YouTube channel. Today is the third episode of Defense Services Staff College preparation module. We are going to speak today on Sri Lanka and Maldives. And to cover this topic, we have once again with us Brigadier R.K. Bhatia. Welcome, Brigadier Bhatia.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Uh, as we have gone around in the past, also we will follow the same model. What we are going to first talk about is Maldives, and then thereafter switch on to Sri Lanka. As viewers would know, that Maldives is currently a challenge as far as India Maldives relations are concerned, due to a change in the narrative because of change in the government, and many people say that there was a huge Chinese intervention in ensuring that the government changed, which was pro-China and not pro-India. The previous government had the slogan called "India First." The current government has a slogan
Yeah.
"India Out." Now, from India First to India Out, how has the journey been? What have been the reasons and the factors? And also, as to what will be the implications now of this, with Sri Lanka also slowly once again tilting back towards China, not realizing that just 2 years back Sri Lanka was in the dumps, and it was India which came out first and offered the $4 billion credit line, because of which then the IMF
Yeah.
agreed to provide loans to Sri Lanka. But I suppose our neighbors are getting influenced by the deep pocket Chinese government, or maybe they are playing one against the other to get the maximum benefit from both the parties, so that they overall benefit, whatever be the reasons. Over to you, Brigadier Bhatia. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, I'll request you to put the map because
Okay.
today's discussion, sir, I'll try and give that how important it is for a military leader to ensure that whatever he talks or he is able to correlate it on the map. So the
Okay.
countries that we are talking about today are Sri Lanka and Maldives. There are certain common elements as far as these two countries are concerned. Firstly, both of them are in Indian Ocean region. As you said, China is trying to woo these two countries by giving condition free loans as well as creating infrastructure or promises to create infrastructure. Now these are in direct confrontation with India. So, if we look at the next map, you see how important these two countries are. That is Hambantota, as we see, and down below is Maldives archipelagos. Sir, a thought has come to my mind. Like whenever we are doing appreciation, so we are told that we must have certain factors that we must first discuss, and from each factor we should be able to draw a deductions. So on similar lines, I have tried to make something. I hope it makes sense. But I am sure if our students go through this template, that what are the factors? Now, see, in our case, China will always remain a factor as far as geopolitical and geostrategic competition with India is concerned. So, what are the considerations that we can have? I have tried to summarize it in a slides. I have named it factors and deductions. First of all, whichever country, especially when we are talking about India's neighbors, whichever country we are talking about, first we must understand the importance of the geostrategic location of that. Because the location of that country will impact geopolitics. How geopolitics in turn will impact geoeconomics of the country, and then economics will impact the security of the nations. So if our students have understood this, that moment you see a country, first of all, look where is it located on the map, which are the neighboring countries, and how are they impacting the geopolitics of that particular region. Now, to give examples, Now, we also must know that China is like an emerging power, and US, the existing power, will always contend any power that is trying to emerge and take its place. So, where is interest of India lying in this? Whom should we align? Because in today's world, we cannot stay isolated. So, we have to look for our interests. Naturally, we don't want a bully next to our country, next to our borders. So, whom are we aligning with? But on the same way, if there is a choice to choose between, let's say, Russia and the USA. Now, at that particular time, our interest was with the Russia, so we are importing oil from there. The problems generally we make in trying to make assessment is that relationship between the countries are they are not like interpersonal relationship, that once upon a time you said this, so no, I cannot change my opinion about you. In geopolitics, we have to constantly dynamically keep changing our opinions. So we also have to be concerned that China is an ideologically motivated competitor, and he wants to get into our area of, I will call it, interest and not influence. No, immediate neighborhood is in our area of interest. So you cannot let a third party come and disturb our comfort zone there. Now, how is China doing it, sir? China is looking to create infrastructure. Now, what happens in creating infrastructure in other country is that it immediately boosts the GDP of that country, because the money is being spent there. So there, amongst the public, there is a feel good factor, without realizing that China is not doing it free of cost. He's giving the money on loan. The country has to repay it. The people who are in power, let's say, so let's take example of Maldives you mentioned about. Now the present government which is in power, it has take if it takes money, it tides over the immediate requirement of, or economically it can show that they are doing well, because if infrastructure money is being spent, the GDP automatically, like I said, will go up. But without realizing that, or for that matter, even in Pakistan, the CPAC money they have to return. So without realizing that the coming generation is going to be in debt, the the people who are in power, they try to take no string attached loan. And why is China creating this infrastructure? Because his biggest weakness is that it does not have energy resources. So he is looking for uninterrupted flow of energy. Now, this is where India's geographical position comes into play, and the importance of our neighbors, because China is looking either, in case it is looking through the sea lanes of communication, then Maldives and Sri Lanka plays a very important role. And if it is trying to go over land, then the other neighboring countries of ours, which we have discussed in the past, they become important, that we should have our say. So it is important that whenever we are answering any question, we have to make sure to understand what is China's interest, and is it against our interest, because it is not that everything we need to oppose. At places we are cooperating also with them. So depending on where our interest lies in geopolitics, it works like this. China encourages centrifugal forces. It wants you to, especially in the periphery area, because if you keep your adversary on tender hooks, so automatically its say in the international arena reduces that much. So that is why it wants to undermine the writ of India by subjecting it to hybrid and gray zone war. Border contiguity, or if a country is nearer, let's say Sri Lanka. Now we have cultural ties with them. There are people who are coming and going back. Just imagine the amount of hybrid, or the quantum of work they can do, because their nationals have free access. Nepalese, we have porous borders. So anything that they want to do, they can get it through this. So these were few factors. As we go along, probably we'll understand more factors whenever you're discussing a type of problem. And then we can draw logical deductions out of it.
I think Brigadier Bhatia, you've done a very good job of explaining to the participants or the aspirants as to how they should consider a question when it comes to them. You have to first identify factors, then deduce your deduce or analyze the factors, how they're going to impact a particular situation depending on what has been asked from you in that particular question. So these are two very important aspects: factors and deductions. They are also applicable in tactics B
Yes.
also. So this is something which you should, which participants should internalize before they attempt any question. So we'll move forward with that.
Sir, even in sorry, sir, even in subjects like military history
Absolutely,
is not for the purpose of just knowing the histories.
yeah,
Now, let's say this time Sino-Vietnam War is there. So,
yeah,
what tactics, what strategy did China employ,
correct.
which we he can do it to us also?
Yeah, and just for the information of the aspirants that we are coming out with the Sino-Vietnam War also very soon. You will find a episode coming maybe this week or end of the week or in the middle of the week. We will have the first episode of military history also going live. So be tuned to our channel, and also we will try to publish the same thing on the Strive channel as well, so that you have an option of going from as many channels as possible, whichever you can access to take lessons from, or to learn about these operations or these factors. So moving ahead, Bhatia, let's go ahead
Yes,
with the
yes.
with the Maldives proper.
So, this is the location of Maldives from north to south. It is 820 kilometers. More importantly, it is 325 nautical miles from Trivandrum and 362 nautical miles from Gales. So it is equidistant from both the places, but the most important thing is that most of the sea lanes or communications are passing either north or south of this area. That is how, what I was mentioning, the geostrategic location of this particular country becomes extremely important.
But at the same time, Brigadier Bhatia, uh, you must realize, and our participants should also, aspirants should also realize that being equidistant, India has a number of options. You see,
Yes.
in terms of choking China. So maybe China may have come and sat here in Maldives, but for coming here, it has to go through India. So that is something which Indian influence in the IOR. So we need not worry that much. In fact, the distance of 345 nautical miles, which is shown from Lakshadweep, from Minicoy, it is just about 100.
125 kilometers to be
So
kilometers.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
if somebody has to take the northern route, I think he's
Hmm.
asking for trouble. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So recently, we've had a controversial stance of Maldives, which most of our students should read about it, what the present government is up to. And like you had said, from India first, this government has come to India out stance when three ministers had given an adverse statement against
Yes,
India.
correct.
Very, very briefly about the fact sheet, sir. Maldives is a Sanskrit word which meant garland of island. Islam reached in 1153. Before that was Buddhist country, flattest and lowest country. Now, why this is important is because this is it can have adverse effect of the climate change. Maldives today or tomorrow is going to realize that in case of a disaster, it is India which can come to its assistance at the earliest, and not China, who's sitting miles and miles away from there. The problem is this sort of narratives to the population is not told, and an image or a narrative is built saying that India is trying to bully us. And like you said, sir, 70 nautical miles from Minico, the Indian Ocean is a major route of transfer of energy and trade around the world. That's why importance of Maldives, and then of course Strait of Malacca and Gulf of Aden, the two choke points. While
Yep.
the Maldives is called the toll tag, right? Because everything has to pass through this.
Yeah.
So this is again the location of the country. Now, where it is located, if you see from Gulf of Aden, whatever is coming, and from the Strait of Hormuz, whatever is coming, it has to pass through Maldives, and on the east is Malaccas.
Correct.
So
and
almost halfway.
and also, all of you must plot the other bases of China and the US to get a holistic picture of this particular region. You will realize that, yeah, I mean, this, so now you realize this, the particular map gives how difficult it will be for any force which is not following the rules of the seas, as we call it as UNCLOS, will find it difficult to navigate through this area and this particular region. Okay.
Sir, I would just add because I'm sure most of our viewers are aware, but in sea also it is not that the ships can take any route. There are
Absolutely.
channels.
Yeah.
There's depth, different load bearing depends. Like crude oil, it needs
Yeah.
very deep channels because it
Absolutely.
gets sunk in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sorry. So there is not that ships can go anywhere. Like air, for air also there are designated corridors. Similarly, for ships also there are certain channels through which they can pass. So
Correct.
nobody can say that ship is an open place, they can move anywhere. They cannot. Uh, this was the reaction of India at that particular time when we decided that the tourists, or rather, will not go and go to
Actually, I
Maldives.
actually I like to correct to the people that India never decided whether we will send the tourists or not. It is the
It
people of
was,
India.
yes,
It's the
yes,
people of India who, on their own, given the kind of nationalism they have shown, they have decided to drop out of
yes,
Maldives. And they are
absolutely.
probably shifting towards Sri Lanka. So one country's deficit is
Cost,
now going to be a advantage to the other country, which possibly Muizu is not realizing it.
absolutely. Like I said, sir, China is a concern. Its
Yep.
strategic presence has grown in the area surrounding India. A significant pearl, but there is Maldives.
Yeah.
We have already spoken about its location. We have already spoken about how important it is to hold Maldives. But notwithstanding that, there are other ways and means of choking the energy flow of China through the Indian Oceans. But there are speculations that China may be attempting to establish a strategic outpost. Now, the problem with strategic outposts is that these outposts are not only going to be used during war, even during peace, they can be a sort of nuisance for the country which are in this, especially fishing, because that gets very adversely affected. The ships which are the merchant naval ships, it can unnecessarily be delayed for reasons which they can manufacture. So that is, and the listening post. No, the most irritating thing is that whatever we are talking amongst ourselves, if somebody is eavesdropping it, so that becomes a very irritating thing. So it could be a listening post also which he can establish there. Now that similarly in Hambantota and then Maldives, these two issues can be of concerns.
Correct.
What are the other concerns we have about Maldives? Like I said, it's a Islamic country. There are reports of terrorist organizations like Islamic State and Pakistan-based madrasas and jihadi groups who are taking roots in this area. This may lead to political instability and socio-economic uncertainty. And there are speculations, as of now, we are not sure that Pak-based terrorist organization may use Maldives to launch a strike against India or Indian interest. So, what are the relationship stressors? The relationship stressors are the political turbulence, that how political instability in the region will actually affect the security and prosperity of this entire region. And like I had mentioned earlier, sir, a rising power like India, its competitors, especially China and Pakistan, will always create uncertainties in the region wherever they get a possibility.
Yes, absolutely.
And ultra right nationalism so that has set into Maldives. This is also likely to create problems because they will keep, because a democracy, it will, in case there is ultra right nationalism which is sets in, and China will not spare it from its narrative building that they have to support China, and India is trying to overwhelm Maldives. So that sort of thing will further fuel the ultra right nationalism that is coming in, which is not good for the country, for especially for India.
Yeah.
So on our hand, sir, we want to take certain actions like economically, sir. The number of developed and developing nations are now quoting Maldives because of the controversy that has come and the strategic significance of the Maldives. So we have to be clear that Maldives should remain within our camp. Management and use of marine resources sustainably is crucial for India's success in the blue economy. Like I was mentioning, a Chinese outpost can be a nuisance for our, let's say, maritime domain awareness in case we're carrying out patrolling for minerals, even within our own EEZ. This can be a problem for us. But sir, like we had already said, India first. Maldives in the past has supported India's permanent membership and candidature to non-permanent seat in the year 2021. We are part of Commonwealth and have backed one another in the forums around the world, like the non-alignment movement in the past. So everything is not lost. We have our own lobby. It is probably temporarily that the present government has come into, and we've carried out anti-terrorist operations also in this area. So it
Yeah, I
is
mean, one
it
has to
is
remember one has to remember the 99
everything is not
operations.
lost.
Yeah, one has to remember the Malay operation which we did
Absolutely, sir.
in the
Absolutely.
90s. That was one of the most, I should say, exemplary example where we helped a country and then went back again, and we had no intentions of occupying any country or something like that.
Abdul Qayyum, I think, was the president, na, sir?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So this is what I thought Maldives background is important, sir. Now these are the questions, sir, which Claus has already made beautiful answers to. I'll quickly read these questions, sir. Maldives
Yeah,
government road to power on India out campaign, right? Short note on the campaigns. We already spoken about the ultra nationalism that is coming up, deep pockets of China, how
correct,
China is wooing them. So all these points will be taken into consideration while answering these questions.
correct.
The political turmoil in Maldives has escalated into strategic power play between the regional players in Asia. What is the strategic importance of Maldives? I think we have covered adequately in our thing, sir. What was
Correct.
India's stand on recent political development in Maldives? Has India lost strategic space to China and Maldives? Substantiate your response with facts. So the facts
Yeah.
and figures students need to remember, and with these facts, they have to come on to the analysis and then come on to the deductions.
That's what we talked about, factors and deductions. That's how you will have to answer these questions. What are the factors and how do you deduce out of it, and then finally what's your comment on it? So that's something, the way you have to answer these questions, and within those restricted number of words. Please do not
Words.
forget, do
Absolutely.
not beat around the bush. If you have
Sir,
been told 300 words, use 300 words judiciously.
Sir, I would like to say, because one has checked papers.
Yeah,
There is no time to read more than 300 words, because
absolutely
as examiners we are also under pressure to do it in a particular time.
correct.
Moment it is more than 300 words, maybe if you have inclination, you may read and try and look for some keyword somewhere where you can give marks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is just ignored.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is for not the big question. Big questions you have to answer them properly as per the background and then the current situation, and thereafter what is the likely future implications of that. So you have to see what kind of questions you're being asked and then answer them. Okay. Let's move ahead.
The
Yes.
third question is the relationship of India and Maldives has been seeing ups and downs in accordance with change in regime in Maldives. What should be Indian strategy to ensure continued good relationships? And we've spoken about the help and the economic help that can. In fact, this particular question, sir, it is true for Nepal. It is true for Sri Lanka. It
Yeah, yeah.
the way Bhutan is coming up, there will be a seesaw sort of approach. There will be, because you like it or you don't like, for these smaller countries, there are two countries to choose from,
Correct.
China and India. So the
Ab-
political parties will play them. So
And this is more
alternatively, most of the
this is
time it is going to be alternative.
correct, and this is more pronounced in the continental countries because the borders are contiguous.
Yes.
This is relatively little less pronounced in the Indian Ocean region, but here also the Chinese have, as we have just covered, tried to expand their influence.
Yeah.
So with that, we finished with Maldives. The only thing which I want to add here is that please be updated. The Maldivian president had requested for waiver of debt
No.
servicing, which India had given to Maldives, which was amounting to about 4.5 uh, million dollars,
Billion.
but billion dollars, I think, of
Billions.
4.5 billion dollars. But Indian government is helping them out despite the fact that they are trying to play one-upmanship. However, India has probably taking steps to withdraw its assets and resources which were there on the Maldivian land. But that's something we'll have to watch out for. Please keep looking at it, because this may get factored in your answer if there is a
Yes.
question like this. There may not be a direct question related to this, but when you are answering a particular question, you must be updated with the current affairs of that, especially our neighbors. It's very important.
Sir, here I would also like to add, sometime what happens is that if you are not prepared for a particular question, you haven't got all the details about that. But if you have a background knowledge, you can
Yeah,
still write few things and fetch those extra marks. And in competitive exams, that each mark matters.
absolutely, absolutely. Let's move ahead to Sri
Yes.
Lanka.
Sri Lanka, sir, as we know, the location of Sri Lanka is in Indian Ocean. Now, here also there is, sir, I'll cover it very quickly. Why? Because the factors are more or less the same, sir. Again, the issue is between China and India. What all India is doing there and what China is doing there. All that is in red, that is Hambantota, Colombo, all this is being done by China. Now, if we see why China is doing it, is again getting back to ensure that it has hassle free movement of its energy requirements. In case there is any interruption or there is somebody's trying to hold the growth of China back, all it has to do is interrupt its energy. And China, on the other hand, is making sure that everything it it can do to supply of uninterrupted energy is the most important thing for China. Now, looking at China's interest in Sri Lanka, like I said, no string attached. Billions of dollars of loans were given to Sri Lankan government for infrastructure project like strategic port of Hambantota. And then, because Sri Lanka was not able to repay those loans in time, 99 years of lease was signed. China has also been supplying arms to Sri Lanka. Now, if any country is doing this exactly very, very close to our, like I said, our area of interest, you know, it is not going to be liked by India. So, what did India do? We said that, okay, that Colombo International Container Terminal will be built at Hambantota. It is India's behest that now Sri Lanka government is saying that China's role should be limited to running the commercial operations at Hambantota because of the lease. Because the lease does not talk about the military usage of Hambantota. That's why recently there was a spy ship which was located at or reported at Hambantota. Now the Sri Lankans have ensured India that it is not functional at Hambantota. So while they will permit the commercial operations to China, but security operations will be permitted only under the oversight of Sri Lankan government. Now, recently, India has also offered a civil nuclear cooperation agreement. Now, this is the first nuclear agreement that Sri Lanka has with any country. India is also investing in infrastructure development in northern and eastern provinces, including Trincomalee port to counterweight the Chinese development at Hambantota. Now, we must see that how Gawadar is being countered by our port at Chaba, and similarly in Sri Lanka, how Hambantota is being negated. So, we are thinking about our strategic footprint at these places where China is trying to dominate. Now, recently, the fishermen issue had come into news. Now, what happens is that the territorial waters of both Sri Lanka and India, they're very close to each other, especially in Park State and Gulf of Mannar. So there are a lot of fishermen who stray. Actually, to tell you the ground situation, the quality and quantity of fish across the maritime boundary line that has been agreed, probably 76 it was agreed to, that our fishermen do go across. And there, the Sri Lankan Navy arrests them, harasses them, even gets into, gets physical with them. So that is an issue with between India and Sri Lanka. Now there's a small islet called Kachawatu, which came into news. Now, problem is that this is deep inside, closer to or across the maritime line boundary. So our fishermen, when they go there, they use this piece of land for drying their nets. Instead of coming back to the shores of India and wasting time, they just do it there and then get back to the sea. And that is the place where the controversies come up. But now, with improved relationship between the two countries, the negotiations are done and fishermen are regularly sent back. But this has, for many years, this has remained a source of irritation between the two countries. Now, let's not forget, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, we have historical, cultural, and religious ties. So many
Uh,
Sri Lankans, they trace their heritage with. Sir, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just a small intervention for Kachathevu. Now, Kachathevu islet or island, whatever you want to call it, it's closer to India, Rameshwaram,
Yes.
than to it's a 40 60 distance between India and Sri Lanka. But what I want to highlight is that this was an issue which got recently raised in the news media. So you may be surprised by a short note or a short
Correct.
question on this. Please be careful when you are answering it. Do not get into the political domain. Just state the facts as they are existing and give your comments carefully. Thank you.
Absolutely. So that's the reason I brought it up, and it's basically the fishermen. And actually, if you really look at it from dispassionately, if you look at it, sir, it's the requirement of the fishermen.
Yeah.
नेट ही तो सुखाना है सर वहां पर, and why should they
It's-
travel so much back? But
yeah.
yes, what you're saying is that there's political issues which are coming up, Congress versus all this. This should be absolutely
Remember.
avoided.
Yeah.
In fact, so this is a good advice for other questions also, because yeah, WhatsApp and these narratives are being created. So our officers need to be very, very careful. We can never forget that we need to be apolitical first, and we
Absolutely.
cannot afford to have any sort of opinions which are politically motivated.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
So in 2022, you have alluded to it, sir. Sri Lanka was hit by a financial crisis. It was foreign exchange payment, what is it called? Balance of payments.
Balance of payment. In fact, it was in dumps. It had.
It was in
Uh,
very bad shapes.
yeah.
मतलब basically दिवालापन हो गया था सर.
Yeah. It was. The country was being declared bankrupt. In fact.
Yes.
Okay. What are the
So
reasons for it? This is something which you all must analyze and answer in detail.
yes, that was very, very important. How exactly the president, went all out. in favor of China, how China initially gave the loan, and how the terms and conditions were so tough that Sri Lanka failed to repay. And they have in fact lost Hambantota control of Hambantota also. And so similar thing has happened with Pakistan as far as Gawadar is concerned. So these are
Absolutely.
the examples which countries are slowly probably will understand that China does not do anything for free.
Absolutely.
So India helped the Sri Lankan government uh, by giving a guarantee in the International Monetary Fund, and the debt was restructured. And having got this opportunity, we have gone ahead with number of agreements and proposals to Sri Lanka. There is a economic and technology cooperation agreements. I can't cover it in detail. This is the important issue. For a short note, students may get it, sir. Multi-project petroleum pipeline. India's UPI system has been adopted. RuPay card has been there. Payment in rupee is a major step towards economic cooperation.
this is
Then,
a this is an important factor. The people who are appearing for this exam must know how many countries have adopted the
yes,
UPI system, how many countries have agreed to do trade in Indian
in rupee.
rupee. So there are 18 countries. Get the list of countries. This is something which is a very good beginning for India, and it has a very good long-term implication for Indian
Absolutely.
economy. Should
Absolutely.
this initiative be progressed the way it is being progressed now? Ooh, thank you.
And of course, India Sri Lanka free trade agreement is there, and India is also the major investor in Sri Lanka today. So, Sri Lanka is a very important partner in India's neighborhood first policy. So, this is again a important question. A short note on India's neighborhood policy, and the second one, the security and growth for all in the region. That is the Sagar projects. India is working on connectivity, joint vision that emphasizes comprehensive connectivity, people to people connectivity, connectivity to ports, and electric grid connectivity. So these are important things. So what happens is, if there are interdependencies, the smaller economy, the smaller country, then they cannot afford to annoy. Or let's say, so there is a integrated grid connectivity between India and Sri Lanka. India being so, though India may not like to do it, but in case it snaps, the losses of the smaller country. So the dependency and the interdependency, more of it, the cooperation will automatically be more. So the renewable energy and logistic cooperation between the countries. So this again is an important thing. Now Sri Lanka is a member of grouping like BIMSTEC, again important from the short note point of view. Multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation, and of course SAC. We do carry out joint military exercise called Mitra Shakti. I think the last one was carried out in Pune, and
Yep.
naval exercise called Slinex. And in what you had said, Sri Lanka has gained in 2022. Before this controversies, also Sri Lanka was a very favorite tourist spot, and 100,000 tourists from India alone, and 8 lakh tourists for a country like Sri Lanka is huge.
Big, 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 big. Especially
Now
you must,
it's going to further increase.
yeah. One
So
must
these are
realize here, Bhatia, one must realize here there are two aspects which the participants must know about in great detail.
yes,
One is the reason why the Sri Lankan had the economic crisis. There were
yes,
two major reasons. First was they went in for a big way into organic farming, whereas the country was dependent more on
including
chemical farming,
including teas.
including tea. So 90% of the farmers of Sri Lanka were into pesticides and other aspects. Now, with the sudden change in the organic farm towards organic farming, the prices of the commodities started increasing, which led to economic crisis. The second reason was that the tourists, because of the COVID, their numbers had fallen down. These two factors actually led to the economic crisis of Sri Lanka, and that is something which you all must remember. For any question related to Sri Lanka's economy or Sri Lanka's political, besides the corruption which was already there and the Chinese influence, but these two factors are the major cause. Over to you.
The first question is dealing with that only, sir. What you have already answered: factors that led to economic crisis and the implication of economic instability in India for in Sri Lanka for India. You cannot afford to have a country next to you, which is because economic instability will lead to a lot of complications. So we cannot afford. That's why India went in to help and restructure the debt. We also gave them, loan, and a lot of cooperation and trade was enhanced. Even in COVID, free vaccination was given. I mean, you have to win over. After all, they are in your neighborhood, and all
Right.
these countries. Again, sir, one important thing is that we have to carry out certain disaster management exercises in these countries to keep reminding them that in case of a problem, we are going to be the first responders.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, question number two, sir, devolution of powers in Tamil population has been one of the major irritant between India and Sri Lanka relation. How can these be resolved? So, Tamil population, we haven't spoken about LTT problem and how it came about, but there are Tamilians who stay in the northern part of Sri Lanka. That was one
Correct.
of the reasons that when the problem came up there, we were scared that it should not happen, that because of instability, some foreign country comes and occupies that area, sitting just next to our sensitive area of South India.
Yep.
So we have to make sure that this sort of instability is not there in that region. And instead of same ethnicity people staying across the strait, instead of they being a source of conflict, they should be used and to make sure that you have good relations with that country.
Absolutely. We have to leverage their strength. That's more important.
Similarities of
Uh,
culture, similarities of language, similarities of this thing
there
instead
are
of
there are going to be problems. Refugee problem is a big one, which we have been able to resolve over a period of time, but it is still there. Ethnicity and affinity of the people from both sides of the strait, Park Strait, is something. In fact, India is thinking of making a Chennai Colombo
yeah,
corridor, which is not really connectivity corridor, but it is a emotional corridor,
emotional.
or it is more of a cognitive domain corridor.
So
If you have it, yeah, if
something like what we call twin city concepts that we
correct.
have. Like
So if you have,
incidentally, I was very surprised, sir. A place like Lucknow is twin city to Shanghai, sir. I
yeah,
was very surprised. Shanghai University and Lucknow University at one stage had a MOU to send students. I'm not aware whether they've gone or not.
correct. Sir, we'll give you a call, sir. Sir, we'll give you a call, sir, after a while. Yeah, sorry.
So, question number three is India has always tried to help Sri Lanka, its neighbor. However, the relationship has seen fluctuation more so after increasing footprints of Chinese. Has India effectively preserved its national and strategic interests? We have covered about it, sir. More facts students should remember, and like what we've been discussing, sir, those facts will automatically throw up the deductions.
Okay.
What are the main provisions of Colombo City Bill? Now, this was a very interesting bill, sir, which was passed, where all the appointments for managing this Colombo was rested with the presidents, that is Rajapakshas, without even referring to the parliament or to anybody else. So
Great.
this was purely for the Chinese interest, to look after Chinese interest. So this is something which, in fact, sir, your notes, your clause notes cover this extremely well. So I
Absolutely.
have purposely not touched it because I thought that the sequentially the way it has been explained in the notes and clause, students should
Correct.
actually read from there, sir.
Yeah, yeah. And
Because
I've already said that anybody who wants these notes, please contact clause as per the description box. You will get your notes promptly, and there are people who are managing this in the clause. It is more of an additional read if you want to do it. If you are doing it through some other agencies also, no problems. The idea is to ensure that all of you do their best to clear the exam. That's the whole idea. We are basically looking at that.
So, so that's the reason, sir. I thought that I will not be able to do justice the way your notes has done to this question, sir.
Okay.
Next question is: India has gained some projects in northern parts of Sri Lanka. What are these projects and how do they enhance India's strategic interest? India's strategic interest, we've already spoken. Stable northern part is in our interest.
Right.
And what are the projects? This will enhance people to people connectivity, which in turn will enhance the economic cooperation and thereafter security of both the nations.
Yeah, I mean, quickly in bullet form, I can highlight to you bulk 60% of our container traffic comes through Colombo. This is something which affects our economy directly. Therefore, India cannot choose to ignore Colombo
And,
as
and
far as
Colombo is one of the biggest natural harbors.
harbors. That is one point. The second thing which you should understand is that India has been awarded the WCT, the Western Colombo Terminal, which is adjacent to the Chinese
Colombo.
terminal, which is being offered to China. So therefore, India will have a foothold where China is, and we would be able to take care of our security interest. And the third thing, which you all should remember, is that India, Sri Lanka, for Sri Lanka, India is its third highest trading partner, which is something which will directly affect should India not engage positively with Sri Lanka. Okay.
And the last question, sir, again, we have touched upon China has been regularly maintaining presence of its spy ships in IOR, including their docking in Sri Lanka. Analyze its implication for India and measures to counter the challenge. This
Yeah.
we have spoken.
Quickly
It's
on
like
this, you must quickly
irritating
on.
bee over your heads.
Correct.
The way it disturbs you, so it
Hmm.
disturbs your peace of mind.
Yeah.
A spy ship
Quickly,
in your
quickly on this issue, please understand what these spice ships comprise of. What are the equipment which is there on the board? Because this is a military question, this is a security related question, and therefore has a very high chance of coming in your examination. So please be careful of this question. Go into a little more detail. They have sent two of them here, two ships in on the Sri Lankan
right.
ports, and they have already sent one in Maldivian port. So therefore, they are trying to target you through two, three locations. But be careful; they are dual-use ships. They call them as research ships for hydrography, etc. But they also carry equipment which can be used for military purposes. So understand these. The notes have it in a fair amount of detail. If you ask for them, you will get it. Otherwise, by and large, what we have spoken about, if you even if you write this much, let me tell you, you will clear the examination. Okay.
I think so. That's all we had decided
So
for today's.
Okay, thank you, Brigadier Bhatia. I think that is a wonderful coverage of the two countries. I'm sure the participants will benefit a lot from it. Please share this video with your friends across the country, wherever they are posted. It is going to be for benefit of them. Please like and subscribe to our channel. You will get more such videos. As I said, that we will be also targeting history paper of the staff college, and that will again be focused in the similar manner with the backgrounder and the questions, and thereafter it gives you an idea as to how to go ahead with this particular that particular subject. And maybe if we get more time, we might also address the third paper, which is the, I think, Adam and Morale, which we will do it in the end if we find time. But these two, which are the major casualty producers, you'll
Yes.
find you find people generally losing out in the current affairs and the military,
But
especially
sir,
the military.
आजकल के ट्रेंड में again a cautionary science and
Mhm.
militech, and
Yeah,
especially those authors who are from technical arms.
yeah. So science and militech also is a very challenging subject, which I mean, it takes a lot of time of yours. My advice to all of you is be focused, understand what you're likely to be asked, and remain restricted to those. Otherwise, you will divert your mind here and there.
So answering technique is extremely important.
Absolutely. With that, thank you, Brigadier Bhatia. I think we had a lovely discussion, and all the best to the students. Do well, prepare well, and I'm sure success will touch your feet. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, sir.